Before we start the show, let's hear from one of our sponsors. Their support keeps this show free for you.
Your child has so much potential, but your local schools may not be right for them. Check out K-12. K-12 powered schools are accredited tuition-free online public schools for students in kindergarten through 12th grade. This is not your typical homeschooling. With state-certified teachers specially trained to teach online, your child will learn at their speed, at home, with innovative, engaging technology. Join the more than 3 million families who have chosen K-12. Go to k12.com/podcast today to learn more. That's k12.com/podcast.
Hi, Peace and Parenting listeners. This is Michelle, and I'm just here letting you all know that my sweet, sweet dad has passed away. And if you listen to the podcast at all, you know how much he meant to the girls and to me. And if you haven't listened to his episode, you should. It's an incredible one, and we'll link it in the show notes here. But I'm taking a small break from the podcast, but don't worry, we will be finding our most popular episodes and putting them out for you each week. I'll be back very soon, but I just wanted to take a break here to be with my family. So thank you very much for continuing to listen, and I'll be back soon. Hi, I'm Michelle, a mother of 2 teens. 13 years ago, I traded in punishments and rewards for connection. Now I prioritize relationship over behaviors, utilize play as a parenting tool, and set limits with empathy instead of consequences. Each week, I share my journey and interview clients, experts, and followers. Thanks for joining me on the Peace and Parenting podcast. I'm so glad you're here.
Siblings comes up a lot in parenting. It comes up a lot with my clients. It comes up a lot in my own home with my own kids. And siblings is one of the pieces that brought me to this work. You know, I think Esme's behavior towards her sister was exacerbated by the way in which I parented. And then she would take out her dysregulation and upset and frustration out on her sister. And so their fighting got to a fever pitch at some point. And I talk often about the story where she tried to hold her sister underneath the water in the pool. And that was kind of a breaking point for me. But that wasn't the only thing that Esme did. Esme was very aggressive with her sister even as a baby. She would hug her, but hug her too tight, and she would nudge her as she was walking by, and she would push her. And Pia was a non-aggressor altogether. And she wasn't much of an instigator, although toward the end of us living in this world of control parenting, she started to become an instigator. And I think that helped her cement her good girl place in the household. And that's kind of what I want to talk about around siblings today, is that somehow I think us parents unknowingly, we make it worse. We exacerbate things that we could possibly make better, but we're making it worse, but we don't even know it. And I was that person, and I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just trying to, and I hear this a lot too, stand up for my Pia. I was trying to stand up for who I thought the victim was, and that I really deeply was so hurt that Esme was hurting her sister that I felt like I had to protect her. And that viewpoint in my head informed my actions. And so all of my actions were for Pia and against Esme. And when I created that, I cemented that paradigm. So I went in, and Esme was already the aggressor and Pia was already kind of the victim. But I went in and kind of cemented that by always having Pia's back, by always saying, Esme, don't touch your sister like that. Esme, you're not supposed to hit. Esme, don't kick her. What did she do to you? Look at her. Look what you did to her. She's crying. And it wasn't even that I sent her to timeout or I punished her but I made it known that what she was doing is wrong and that she was hurting her sister. And people will say to me, well, isn't that what you're supposed to do? You have to tell the other child that they can't do that. Sure, you can, but what does it do? Does it actually work? Does it help them see the errors of their way? Does it keep them from doing it again? Much of the time it doesn't. It doesn't work at all. And why it doesn't work is because the child who is being the aggressor isn't doing well. And calling them out for their aggression really makes them do worse. And even for the compliant child, that child might withdraw and go into themselves and stuff their feelings just to make everything okay. Whereas Esme, she would go to like fight. She would just continue to come after her sister in even bigger ways because now she was mad at me. Now she was like, it's your fault. You're on her side. You like Pia better. And so it just fueled her fire. And I think that's where we get stuck. It's like, okay, but what do I do when my kid is like, they're crying on the couch and their scratches all up and down their arm. And what am I supposed to do? And that's a big question. What are you supposed to do? But we can't just pinpoint in that moment, what are you supposed to do? Sure, we can. And let me get back to that kind of in a few minutes. But if we just focus on what you're supposed to do in that moment, we are just going to be constantly putting out fires. And I don't know that it will ever remedy itself if you're only worried about fixing the moment. Sure, I'm going to give you some things that can fix the moment just to get through, because that's like having like a fire alarm almost, right? The fire's just, you're trying to put the fire out, and putting the fire out is just temporary because that fire just keeps flaming up and up, because if you don't get it out good enough, it's just going to keep coming back. And that's kind of what happens in sibling rivalry. So let's think of it, let's zoom out for a minute. Let's think of it globally. We want to build in connection for this sweet Esme who isn't doing well, and she keeps attacking her sister. And this sweet Esme has been in timeout. She's been rewarded. She's been punished. I've been taking her things away. This poor kid is like not doing well, and I'm just making it worse by all these consequences and threats and all the things I'm doing to her. And I don't necessarily realize it in the moment. I didn't necessarily realize it at all until I started to change the way in which I parented. So as soon as I realized that control parenting wasn't working and connected parenting was better, I started to build in connection with Esme. I started to do daily special time. I started to empathize with her feelings. I stopped using all of the control parenting, and I really showed her I loved her unconditionally by accepting her mistakes. Esme started to feel better. And guess what? She started to treat her sister better because she was thinking better. So when we work on the relationship we share with our child, so I worked on the relationship I'm sharing with Esme, and her brain started working better because her prefrontal, her reasoning brain could stay engaged more. She could think better. She could make better decisions, and she felt better. And she and I felt better. So she could go to her sister and negotiate and share more and be kinder. However, when there were those upsets, and there still were upsets, there always will be sibling upsets, I think. We have far fewer now. But when there were those upsets, I was still intervening with this kind of shame. And Esme, the strong-willed, sensitive kid, she doesn't do well with shame. By the way, Pia, the agreeable kid, doesn't do well with shame either. She just processes it differently. She goes into herself. But Esme came out fighting. So I was still intervening, even though I was connected parenting and I was doing all the things. I didn't quite understand this paradigm. I didn't understand that I had to come neutrally. And I didn't really know what that meant because in my mind, there was no way I was coming neutrally when Pia had scratches all up and down her arm and her sister had bit her. I was not, there's no way. No, I am protecting my baby. You are not to do that to her. And then I started to have to unravel my own sibling relationship with my sister and how she and I fought really badly when we were younger. And we kind of hated each other, and we had a really tumultuous upbringing as far as our sibling relationship. And it took us many, many years and many, many years of therapy to get us back on track. And we still sometimes have a hard time. And I went to that place. They're going to hate each other. Esme's being so mean, and Pia's never going to talk to her again. And that's kind of the paradigm that played out in my own house. My sister didn't want to talk to me because I was so mean to her growing up, because I was taking out my dysregulation on my sister, because I thought my parents, it was the same thing, of course, because generational trauma just follows you right along. It just keeps on going unless you put the cog in the wheel and you stop it. So I was triggered back to my own childhood. I was operating in a place where I thought my parents didn't intervene. They just let us go at it. And so it wasn't good. So I thought, I'm intervening. I'm stopping it. I'm not going to allow my baby to be hurt. But in that thinking, I created more upset and more rivalry and more trouble. We're going to take a break from our show to hear from our sponsors. Without their sponsorship, I wouldn't be able to bring you this incredible show free of charge. So I'll see you back in a few minutes. My sweet Esme has eczema and super sensitive skin, and it's not easy finding products that actually work for tough stains, but are also not irritating to the skin. That's why I switched to Blueland. Their products are made to meet the highest environmental standards. Their products are not just clean, they're mom clean. Blueland products are 100% plastic-free and made with certified clean ingredients that are safe to use around family, pets, and plants in the house. You don't have to choose between the safe option and what really gets your house clean. Blueland products are independently tested to perform alongside major brands and are free from dyes, bleach, and harsh chemicals. And Blueland is trusted in over 1 million homes, including mine. I love the dishwasher tablets. They leave my dishes really clean, and I don't even need to use rinse aid. Blueland has a special offer for listeners. Right now, get 15% off your first order by going to blueland.com/peace. You won't want to miss this. blueland.com/peace for 15% off. That's blueland.com/peace. Are you a mom who feels like you're juggling it all, but something just feels off? It could also be your hormones causing this chaos. Hormone Harmony contains science-backed herbal extracts called adaptogens. Now, here's the beauty of adaptogens. They help the body adapt to any stressors like chaotic hormonal changes that happen naturally throughout a woman's life. That's why Hormone Harmony is perfect for women of all ages who are struggling with life-disrupting symptoms such as PMS, like irritability, moodiness, discomfort, or uncontrollable cravings, and menopause with symptoms like hot flashes and night sweats. The results are impressive. There are over 40,000 reviews on their website. Women cannot stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. So for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code PEACE. Check out happymammoth.com. Use the code PEACE for 15% off today. Let's dive back in. So when I could reframe it, which was really hard, I had to reframe this idea that Pia was not the victim. That's a big thing to have to say and recognize even while she's being hurt. But she's not the victim, and Esme is not the villain. They're just having a hard time. And Esme can't regulate her feelings, and she's taking it out on her sister. And how can we get her to stop? And how we can get her to stop is connection. So the outside of the moment connection pieces, we're working a lot. But now we have to work on the inside the moment pieces. But you can't just do the inside of the moment pieces, not the outside of the moment pieces. Because if you just do the inside of the moment pieces, then you're still going to have a child that isn't doing 100% completely better. Well, nobody's ever going to do 100% completely better, but you haven't gotten rid of all the places that are eroding connection, and you haven't infused connection in their place. So in the moment, I would just come in now and say, what happened, guys? What's going on? What's happening here? And everybody would say their story. Pia would say, she scratched me and she bit me. And I would say, oh, Pia, it sounds like you're having a hard time, honey. I'm sorry. And I'd hold her hand. And then I would hold Esme's hand. Say, Esme, honey, what happened? I don't like her. I don't want her to be my sister. She's blah, 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 blah. Okay, you guys are struggling, Esme, honey. I'm sorry this is happening. Let's see if we can figure it out. Now that in itself, just that empathic piece, helps kids' brains get back online, helps kids do better. Now, if they're too crazy and ignited, they might not even be able to do that. So you just come in and you separate and you say, yeah, okay, that's it. We're done. And you come in really quickly. You don't wait to come in. Come in immediately as soon as you hear something. When you can do this, now you've created the stage where it's neutral, where you're hearing people's feelings. Are you saying you can't do this and you can't do that and you're wrong and you're right? No, you're just listening to the upset. And that's it. You're validating it. And that's more important than anything because kids, people, humans want to be seen and heard and understood. So I'm seeing, hearing, and understanding you. I'm validating your feelings. I'm coming in neutrally. If you do nothing else, that can be enough. It really can be enough. Now, if you can find this leap, if you can find this idea in your head that one child is not necessarily the victim and that the sibling relationship is this long, involved relationship, right? It's been going on 5 years, 6 years, 3 years, 10 years, whatever it is. Everyone's had their faults. Everyone's been the good guy. Everyone's been the bad guy. Everyone has a reason why they're doing it. Esme's reason was she didn't feel like she had a place in the family. Pia had taken her place. We all liked Pia better. Not that she was justified in biting or scratching her sister, but that it came from a place of hurt. It doesn't come from a place of a villain. It came from a place of hurt, and she's a child. That's the other thing too. I have a lot of clients who have been hit as kids or beat as kids or shamed as kids. And so they really feel like their child that's yelling and screaming and hitting and all of these things is actually a villain because they remind them of the adult in their life that did that. But adults have a different responsibility, and adults have a fully developed brain. And adults might be coming from a place of hurt, but they have an obligation not to hurt little children. And they have an obligation not to hurt other people. A little child or any child who is aggressive out of fear or out of hurt, which comes from fear of not having a place in the house, as me, for instance, that is a totally different story. And so we have to reframe that. I'll have a lot of parents would say, well, my kid's abusing me. They're abusing me because when I have a tantrum, they're abusing me. And I get that. I think that it can feel like that, especially if you've been abused. It can feel like abuse, like anyone hitting you or touching your body when you don't give consent can feel abusive. But I don't think the intent is the same. Your child doesn't mean to control you or to punish you or to put you in your place. They're not being abusive. They're dysregulated and having a hard time and taking it out on you. Is it right? No, no, hitting's never right? But it doesn't have the same intent. So if we can unwind the intent there, and we can unwind the intent around sibling rivalry too, where it's an unmet need and not a need to control or to, really like hurt so that you can get your own way or whatever it is happening in an adult relationship around abuse. That's not the same thing. But it's hard to unravel it if you have been abused or hit, or if you've seen a lot of hitting, or if you've been witness to hitting, if your parents were hitting each other, then that can also trigger you. So it's worth it to get back into your own childhood and to really journal about that, to really think like, okay, what was hitting like in my own household? Who hit who and why? And what did that feel like for me? And does that put me in the same emergency that I'm in when I see my oldest hit my youngest? So some things to think about in the sibling relationship that, it's not easy and it's not uncomplicated. It really is a complicated experience being in a sibling relationship, and then coming to it with connection through this totally counterintuitive way can feel wrong. But I'll tell you what, it works. It really does. If you can come in with neutrality, you can listen to my other sibling rivalry podcast from like the first season. I think it's like number 8 or 6 or 8. And download the guide. You can take the sibling rivalry course, which is awesome. It's 1 hour and it really does explain all this and more. And it's a workshop. So parents ask questions and I answer. And you can really find a new way to understand your siblings. And I think really infuse connection and make better meaning for them. So thank you for joining me on the Peace and Parenting podcast. And I'm so glad you were here.
When we started writing our thoughts down on paper, it opened up endless possibilities. Ideas could grow beyond the borders of the mind, and it changed the world. Somewhere along the way, we lost touch with paper, distracted by devices made for every purpose except for thinking and focus. On edge, waiting for the next notification. But what if new technology didn't pull us away from paper, but brought us closer to it? Listen. That's not paper. It's the sound of the new Remarkable Paper Pro, rewriting the future. A paper tablet with a true color ink display, gentle reading light, and unheard of tactility. With digital features for taking notes, thinking, and organizing, without any distractions. Paper is about to change the world again. Get your paper tablet at remarkable.com today.